Okay, so now into vocal land. So because of the fact that we wanted the track to be light on its feet and not sound that expensive, normally I would record Matt at this time on like, I can't remember. We use the 251 a lot. He sounds amazing on almost any mic, but on 251 is my favorite vocal mic. And if you're ever at a studio that has a 251, just use that and don't think about it anymore. It's fine. But we didn't want this to sound that expensive. So we use handheld mics for his vocals. He wasn't actually holding them, because if you cut a vocal with somebody and they're moving the mic around, you'll get noise on the microphone. So put it on a stand, and all of his lead vocal, and I think some of the backing vocals are done with the handheld mic. And you can hear his phrasing is really, there's a lot of attack on it, on the consonants, and you're not going to get that out of a large diaphragm microphone. You will get it out of like a 57. Baby, don't you know I suffer? Baby, can you hear me now? So he would have been going through that. I would have used something not crazy to compress his vocal, 1176 probably. So it would have been 57, 1073, a little bit of EQ, high pass it into, probably 1176, and then just straight in. You can see here I did some editing on the vocals, but I didn't go crazy. I didn't tune his vocal, and I didn't completely align every single phrase. That's partly because it's just the record was made a long time ago and standards are different now. But it's also because it just sounds more fun, It sounds more fun if the vocal is loose. It feels more like a party. It feels more like if we just double this vocal and you tighten it severely, it just starts to sound like one person singing. And it just sounds more fun this way. So there's some amount of tightening, but as you hear, like in the backing vocals, when we get to the backing vocal stack, those need to be really tight. All the consonants and the phrasing absolutely has to be tight. But the verse vocal just sounds more fun if it's not that tight. Baby, don't you know I So if you look at his vocal track here, one thing that's kind of interesting is it looks like he was doing full takes at the time. Instead of recording bit by bit, I do what certain people like to record full takes, then do another full take, and then punch in things that aren't working. So here you can see he was doing full takes down, and then the counterpoint vocals in the chorus, we ended up tracking separately. So this is what they sound like without any distortion or anything. There's a lot of Matt inhaling. That's kind of the sound of his voice at the time. It's always like with his, certainly around that time, I think that's been tamped down a little bit, but there was a lot of that, and that's part of his sound. I mean, that's, you don't want to get rid of that. That's character. So there's a little bit of plugins here. It's a Bomb Factory, Fairchild. I don't even know what that is. I don't think that was probably what we used, but. All right, so you have the lead, and then you got the response vocals in the chorus, and then the counterpoint vocals are where things got a lot more serious. So these also were ones he had from they're not the same recording, but these are parts that he had in the demo. Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive. Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the... So that stack is all Matt doing all the different, it's the high falsetto all the way down. And if you look at the multi-track, it says B-Vox ATR bounce. So I've had a long held belief that when you do a big giant vocal stack, I want them to sound like one thing. I don't want them to sound loose like just a bunch of highly processed vocals doing harmonies. So what we would do is when you want to tighten up a big stack of vocals is we would get them really tight. There was a bit of editing there, but a lot of that is them just singing, but you'd tighten them a little bit and then bounce them to an ATR half inch and put them back in. And the ATR, we didn't necessarily slam it, but just going to the tape just tightens all the vocals. It softens the attack a little bit. It softens the S's a lot. There's something about tape recording and vocals that to me is just an amazing marriage. I think that a lot of microphones, particularly vintage microphones, were designed to be recorded to tape. And because of that, sibilances are much more reduced and controlled. The amount of de-essers that are on the market these days that we all use just weren't really necessary because the essing was naturally reduced by just going to tape. So you had this many vocals stacked up, you're gonna have problems with your plosives and your S's and all this stuff. So you bounce it to tape and it tightens up and it cleans all that stuff up just kind of on its own. So we did that, but then we also felt like we wanted to add more to it, so then he's adding more vocals here, doubling up on all of that stuff.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive. Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the...
And then Chris in the band also is a fantastic singer, so we want to get some more texture, so Chris sang on it as well. Similar harmonies, and so all the stacks of all of it together sounds like this.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and
I mean, we're hearing mostly Matt right now, obviously.
to the supermassive. Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the...
But even there, that's not that tight. I mean, at the time it probably seemed tight, but you can hear how the vocals are not really that tight by normal standards today. So we've got the lead vocal, we've got two different big counterpoint vocal stacks there. To me, that's still sounding a little bit traditional. So I wanted to take the vocal stack and make it sound a little more synthetic to go along with the synthetic nature of the guitar, and the drums are synthetic. So the whole track has this kind of like dichotomy between something that sounds like it's played by people, but also is very synthetic at the same time. So then we brought out Marvin.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive. Glaciers melting.
So Marvin, it was shorthand that we used to use this as a joke. The Kima system has a couple programs where it sounds like a computer talking. And because it's a bit of an older system, I mean, it was new at the time, but nowadays, obviously it's, you know, your phone talks to you. But the options for synthesized speech were a lot more primitive sounding, and we used to make a joke out of it and always called it Marvin whenever we heard computerized speech. I sort of wanted something that sounded like a vocoder, but not full vocoder, because that happens later on in the break.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive. Glaciers melting in the dead of night.
So this isn't a full vocoder, this is a voice synthesis with different formants. And the way that we did this was a vocal box called the Digitech Vocal, I think it's called. It's kind of a cheap box. You can probably buy it, again, at a junk shop somewhere. But it has the kind of primitive nature of the formant shifting is super cool sounding. And so once we got that going with the stacks, we felt like, okay, now we've got something that sounds really cool in the chorus. So it sounds... The way that box works is you have to feed it a source vocal. So you'd get Matt singing into an SM57, which is this.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night.
And you would feed that into the Digitech voice box and stack it up.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive.
And you know, Marvin's a little glitchy. It's a little weird, but that's part of the sound. That's the whole idea. And so if you stack that up with the other vocals.
Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the supermassive. Glaciers melting in the dead of night, and the superstars sucked into the...
So now you get something that's a big stack of vocals, but it's got kind of, almost like semi-animated sound to it. So now that's starting to fit in with the processed drums, it fits in with the processed guitar, all of it is now starting to take on a life of its own. So then there's this break that happens at the end of the chorus, and Matt had wanted it to have this vocoder sound. And it's, there's lots of our favorite records where people use vocoders, and it's really hard to get a vocoder that does what you want, what I had in my mind. And we spent ages trying to sort out the right vocoder sound. If kids out there don't know what a vocoder is, you can use Wikipedia. Somebody speaks or sings into a microphone, and it goes into carrier signal, and the carrier signal basically the end result is it sounds like a synthesized voice, but you need the dry vocal signal to shape the sound itself.